Hey, good morning, guys. Oh, what a brisk morning it is. Today, I'm rolling the trash can out to the road. A little bit of a walk. It's only like 400 foot. Anyway, just wanted to shoot a video this morning. Just a clean, raw, unedited video. So, I know there's a lot of guys out there posting out their handyman videos and showing a lot of different things, and I tend to watch them as a professional in my field as well. We do remodels, handyman work. I guess everybody, it's considered handyman work now. But anyway, it's just a little bit about that. Today we're going to be going to a job that will be a floor redo, some luxury vinyl plank flooring. It's actually a life-proof floor. It actually goes down really smoothly, really durable, and lasts. Sorry, I'm out of breath. Anyway, there, officially dropped at the road. So we'll be going to the job. I'm not going to video the whole trip over. It's about a 50-minute ride into another city, and we'll pick it up from there. My guys should be showing up over there, so hopefully we're walking into them working, and then we kind of show some of the floor and what we had to do, and go from there. You want to say hello to my family's two sheep. They were gotten, this one right here was gotten as an orphan. Sweet pea. Sweet pea. They're what they call a hair sheep, or there's probably another technical term, but they actually shed their wool. They do not have to be sheared. So anyway, we'll pick up the video, like I said, on the job. I kind of chase rabbits all over the place if you've seen my videos before. Anyway, I do watch other handyman videos, make X amount of dollars a day. But people look at that and they, go, how do you do that kind of stuff? Well, we have some really good days. We just did a punch list in 2 days, probably about a total of 8 hours work time, and yeah, I made $1,000. But all the tools that go along with it, and the knowledge and the know-how, with our business, you have one guy that comes out, two guys that come out and do everything, but you don't have to bring in electricians, you don't have to bring in plumber, change the lights. People want light bulbs put in. Oh yeah, and by the way, I'm getting ready to get into the warmed up electric car that I'm about to drive across America. Apparently I can do it. So anyway, as far as making $1,000 a day, realistically that doesn't happen, but far and few between. Let me get this set up. Oh boy, I already drank my cup of coffee, and here I am in my Carhartt. These are warm, especially when it's on a cold day like it is. Got my banana muffins here. Anyway, so we're gonna be heading out. I think the truck's warmed up enough. $1,000 a day. Tools, go price the ladder. All right, so we had to get up on a roof, fix a roof leak. We had to troubleshoot no GFIs in kitchens or wet areas. We had some leaking tubs underneath subfloor. Inspector found some subfloor that had water leaks on it and said that they had ongoing leaks, and the subfloor was structurally compromised, so we had to make sure it wasn't. And I know these inspectors, this is actually a home inspector for this house to be sold. They don't want to pass any of the liability upon themselves, so they always say hire a licensed contractor to come out and take care of these things, evaluate them, and then give a safety. We always give a safety analysis on it, as far as, hey, was this up to code at the time of construction? That's a key word. My years in what I do, used to work with a lot of state inspector stuff. If you start touching stuff, it needs to be brought up to today's standard. If an inspector sees something, and at the time of construction, it was the standard, all right, that gets updated from time to time. I think one of them I have an electrical book was 2001 to 3, and then I have another one that went from 7 to 11 or something like that. And then, you know, every so many years they'll do that. Oh, geez, that is shaking like crazy. Anyway, so I'm fighting a head cold. Goes from time to time. So we go in and we check that, make sure it is properly done. And like I said, they want to make sure they cover their own behind. So if you have a water stain under the floor that was from 10 years ago, they don't know it was from 10 years ago. Nobody does. So the only way to evaluate that is, like we did, run both tubs for a prolonged period of time, run the shower, splash water around in the tubs, make sure that there's no cracks or penetration while you're laying under the subfloor with a flashlight and filming it, so that way you can give it to the homeowner to verify that things were copacetic. So anyway, that was my day for 2 days, under a crawl space for part of the day, sistering some floor joists, rebracing a part of the OSB decking that they questioned, and then doing a visual inspection on all the ledgers and nails and different things like that in the floor joist system. Again, they recommended re-roofing a house for a simple nail pop, and they said the decking was rotted. I'm 240 pounds. He got up there and was stomping around. It was not going to move. Got under there, sealed up the nail, put some RMR mold remover and killer on it. It actually works really well. If you haven't seen it before, you can find it online. You won't find that in my description because I don't do any of that. I just film videos. Maybe I'll pick that up. I don't know. Maybe another revenue stream. Anyway, RMR works really good. I think it's RMR 86 or something like that. Instant mold remover. It will nearly make wood appear as it's new. Some deep stains you have to kind of spray and saturate them quite a bit. And I do have my operator's license on WDO, if anybody knows that in the pest world, control world, wood destroying organisms. Also operator for pest control. So those are all things you can do. I grew up in a house that my dad worked his butt off from the time he was 15 years old, painting and working in the auto industry, doing hot rods and different things. So I was raised to work hard. If you want something, you got to go work and go get it. So every morning I get up and I go get it, even though I don't feel like it. Nobody is handing me money. I wish they were. But then again, I feel like have no value to myself. Sometimes when you get out there and you work for something and you get hard, you work hard, you have some pride in what you do. And some of my other videos I show that people don't take pride. It's very far and few do I see, even in the contracting world, that people take pride in their work. I have gone behind numerous professional, air quote, tile layers. I'm not like been laying tile for 25 years or anything like that. Self-taught, was shown some skills by another guy, showed me the basics, and went from there and pushed and always researched how to do things better, what's the better method, always learning tricks of the trade. But anyway, that being said, we've gone behind guys that are a tile company who have destroyed people's houses or have done a subpar tile job. Flooring, again, I've had to come behind professional flooring guys. Laying carpet, who have done it their whole life, and be like, hey guys, when you cut this corner, you didn't actually go to the corner so I can see, the nailing strip, or the carpet's not tucked close to the baseboard and you can see straight down through. Pay attention to details. They don't. They get in, they get out, and you have to keep everybody lined up. But remember, that $1,000 a day takes a little bit of work. That rabbit that I just chased, I was getting to, as far as ladders, go price a ladder, $258 for a step ladder. All right, a good quality Warner or a Louisville ladder that'll actually last and hold up. Go price some hand tools that are not from Harbor Freight, or even yet the Lowe's off brands. Things won't hold up. So, when a contractor comes to your house and you're like, well, you charge way too much, and then you go out to his toolbox and he grabs 2 drills and he's holding $500 in his hand to do the job, are you going to go purchase the $250 drill and bit set that cost $95, and the screws and the fuel that it took to get there, the insurance, the licensing, all the legwork too? People think, well, you just showed up, hey, just throw me a quote together. Some of these quotes, I have hours in research, calling lumber yards, getting figures, getting decking material lined up, trying to figure out what can they get the fasteners in this weird time we're in, 2 years past COVID, and ongoing COVID. You can't find stuff anymore. People, I just priced a job for a deck, okay? And I am not the cheapest out there. I know that. But you're gonna get what you pay for. And a guy that comes in and says, oh, I could do that for X amount of dollars. First of all, I don't see, and I just tell the customer politely, I don't see how that's possible. I recommend going with them, and we'll find out how that turns out for them. And most of the time, we're the ones that come back, and they're upset that they paid somebody else to do it and wonder why they have to pay us as a company to come in and fix somebody else's problem that you paid because you thought they were doing a good job. So, anyways, on a rant. Last night I stayed awake quite a while in bed with a lot of these thoughts running through your head, and how the world's going from the time you were a child. If you think back, if you're born in the 70s or 80s, and you just think about the turn of everything. I have done quite a bit as far as work in different fields so far. I'm in my 40s. I grew up, like I said, not with a lot of money. My parents both worked. My dad worked 2 to 3 jobs, actually still working 2 jobs at 64 years old. My mom worked until she obliterated her rotor cuff, tore it, had surgery, could never get back to work the same way. At 15, I was cleaning buildings as a janitor to help my dad on the weekends. I also traveled and worked summers with my family. They did cable work, so I installed cable TV, dug ditches in the south. Was actually around doing cable work when the first high-speed modem came out, and we went from 56K, 128K to installing a network 10-100T network card in people's computers and installing high-speed internet, which was 1 meg, I'm sorry. Wow. 1 megabyte. And actually that was unheard of for residential services. DSL was around a little bit, but you really couldn't get that speed. And you'd be surprised at how the evolution of everything has changed over the years. And now my son complains. He was, I didn't have a cell phone until I was in my 20s. He complains that his Xbox is lagged. Dad, it's lagged. Lag. Oh, you hacker. That's his whole term, is lagged and hacker and sweat. I don't even, half the terms, I don't even know what he's talking about. And they're yelling at somebody on his headphones, which could be a 5-year-old playing Fortnite. So these kids are born with this in their hands. And I try and tell them, turn it off, go outside, find something to do. Because as a kid, I was thinking about last night, how many times you start really thinking about it. How old were you when you first walked to the liquor store at the corner to get you a push pop or a rocket popsicle, the red, white, and blue rocket? How about the one with the little gum in the top? And I can't remember what it was. Maybe you guys would tell me. I remember opening that up and it had the little piece of gum and all that, and it was just wonderful. I walked 4 city blocks to get to it when I was in the 3rd and 4th grade. I walked home over a mile when I was in that 3rd and 4th grade. I was just reminiscing on the times that we had. I was raised, like I said, my parents worked hard. Didn't always get. How many people remember the big wheels? All right, if you don't, and you're not old enough to remember that, the big wheel had 3 plastic wheels. The front wheel might have been 12 to 14 inches. It had pedal cranks on it. You sat on a seat on the body of the thing, and it's just like those little drifting carts now. I see guys online drifting down these roads with these powered carts and electric things, and even gas powered ones. But they were a little plastic wheels there, probably I don't know, guys, help me out, 6-7 inches in the rear, both sides. Well, I wanted the Knight Rider one. Oh, it shot stuff from the front and everything else, but my parents couldn't afford that one. So I got the knockoff Knight Rider. And if you don't know what Knight Rider is, then you need to look that up too. Oh, David Hasselhoff. Anyway, you know what the A-Team is? Does anybody grow up with the A-Team? My first dog was a York mixed mutt. And his name, guess what it was? Any guesses? Mr. T. Yes. The big bad Mr. T. In the 80s. I grew up in California. Up through the late 90s. Before I moved out east. I was just thinking about that. How many kids and how this online world has changed everything. The 3rd and 4th grade, I don't remember, but really bullies or people getting picked on. There's kids I didn't like. There was a kid that looked like Fabio, a long blonde hair surfer kid. Went to school with a bunch of different ethnic backgrounds and races. Also went to school, just a whole different. I don't remember it being just a traumatic place for your kid to go to school in. It wasn't until my eyes were open we moved, because my dad had to find different work. When I was in the 4th grade, halfway through the 4th grade, moved to a small town. It was an old mining town. A pass through was about, I've always lived near, well, I would say, if you know anything about the 5 or the 10 freeway in California, I've always lived near, I'd say near, about an hour and a quarter to an hour from Riverside, where I was born and had a short stint in. My grandparents lived there, near Actually, they lived in Riverside. And he used to skateboard the streets of Riverside, and didn't have any worries as a kid. Oh yes, and there were gangs back then. This all just didn't happen now. Okay, people. 4th grade, moved to a different town, and what that looked like is coming in as a new kid. Whole different scenario. These people have been raised all together, just like I was with my school, together, and we're a close-knit family. And I really quickly got introduced to, even in the 4th grade, I hate to say this, people would not even believe me unless you've been in this kind of world, already tied up with their big brothers being in gangs and different things. So, 4th grader, for you guys with kids, your 4th grader son tied up with the Mexican mafia. And I know that might not be politically correct. Yes, I went to school with a kid named Spider, who in high school was, neck tattoo, back of his hand, was completely. We had a lot of the LA, I say misfits. Unfortunately, at that time, that's what they deemed you, as a misfit. When you got pushed out of school, our school was the one that caught or was the last resort for everybody to go to. Needless to say, in high school and that elementary and junior high, I went to a pretty rough schooling. But I don't regret any of that. That develops you into who you are, and you can make your paths. I had friends that were got involved in drugs. We stole cars, and they partied in high school and junior high. I remember kids, and these were girls, in the 7th grade and 6th grade. Put that into perspective. Bringing their thermos with half vodka and Kool-Aid to school. And high school football, it was deemed that there was gin or some kind of liquor mixed into the oranges that the football team that we were given to ease the pain and to play harder. I don't know. They were good oranges, and we played really well, with a lot of injuries. So people are like, "You're lying. There's no way." I tell my kids stories, and my wife just sits over there and shakes her head because she knows she was not allowed. She was a military brat, and she was not allowed, which was the next town over. She went to a school on base when I met her in high school, and she was not allowed to go to that school. So when I took her to a football game when we were dating, to see her face, and I just see it now, I was dressed, I had I wish I knew the name. Maybe 3 concussions are catching up to me. Special order jeans. They were wide leg. Man, you had your chain on your side, a wife beater. You starched and ironed your pants. I mean, full on cholo, man. And it's hard to believe because you hear the accent that I have now. I have been where I am for over 20 years now, and so it's amazing how you start picking up the cultural vibe. I've been to a lot. I'd say a few different countries. I have been blessed to want to bless others. And no, I'm not saying blessed financially. It's like, oh, I don't have to worry about money. That is not what I'm saying. I struggled to leave work, take the time off to go help other people. During the hurricanes, most recently, to the Bahamas, to the K Islands, where a lot of Haitian people lost their lives, were washed out in the sea, to another island where it was completely, just looked like an atomic bomb went off, and we went and re-roofed some of these houses. Went with Samaritan's Purse,
I didn't go with them. They were there. They had already been working on the island, helped tarp, helped structurally brace some of the roof lines so they could keep the house, because they were wanting to condemn their houses. These people didn't even have power. The lines got severed that go from island to island, and it's not like where Carnival or Royal goes to these islands. It was not that type of island. They pour money. Carnival and the ships pour money into that Nassau Island and the other islands. And then been to Africa, heard the stories from my translator on a mission work over there. I spent 14 days in Rwanda, walking the hills. Yes, Rwanda is the land of hills. And just helping and ministering and getting them started. And they were still devastated from the genocide. The Hutu and the Tutsi tribes. Hutu was Emmanuel was my translator / partner, going through the villages, and he told me stories that would shake you to your core. And somehow to believe it, I guess where I'm getting is at the time I'm scattered, but it's amazing how as Americans we are so out of touch with what goes on everywhere. The fact that these people thanked Americans and loved us because we came over and helped them. And I asked him, when did we come to help you? And he said, well, the genocide. And you came in after. And I was like, no, we waited. The UN, which fled during that time, and there was the president who, maybe you don't know your own history, during that time was divine sexual relations. You can look that up if you don't know who I'm talking about. Came in after because this country didn't offer us anything. So millions and millions of people were slaughtered by their friends and family. Everybody's like, oh, it was just this tribe, this uprose out of nowhere and did anything. No, what started the genocide was propaganda being taught over the radio. And this is from his mouth, all right? This is not me making up anything. His neighbors and different tribes, they lived in nicer houses. They're not all mud huts, swollen belly people. They are now. It is devastated where they burned down the villages. They've done, and they're starting back out. They're poverty-stricken, third world, but they did have houses. And if you watched any of the videos or the movies about it, who over time the propaganda and I just call it demonic force that brainwashed these people to turn on their neighbors and to take machetes and hatchets and rakes and hoes and sticks and beat and disembowel each other, growing up near each other, playing sports together, going to school together, and it become complete. That's just evil. So he thanked the U.S. for coming over to help. But we only came after millions of people died. And we have to, I've been to Italy. We saw the Roman structures over there. I've been in Ethiopia. I've been to Mexico to help build houses. I've been around, so growing up in a diversified culture, the people that used to beat the crap out of me in 4th grade, 2 Mexican boys back then, I didn't know what their problem with me was. I didn't have any issue with them. I didn't say nothing to them. They didn't like me. I'll get to that story. Then some of my, then a couple white kids, okay, Caucasian, then thought they could start picking on me. And so really quickly when I was thrown into that different school, I learned that I am completely out of my element and it's survival time. So the kid, the first just two Mexican kids, or aka Hispanic, became my best friends. And I became known to them as, through the 4th grade, they gave me a nickname called Punching Bag. Yeah. Punching Bag. You guess what they did. They gave me pats on the back, right? So anyway, great times. Anyway, up through into junior high. Also the young little white boy in the 4th grade who tried getting me, learned quickly that I wasn't going to put up with him. Handled it, and he became my friend, and that whole crew became my friends. And the black kids that played basketball, the Johnson brothers, David, shout out to you. Although I was a white boy trying to play basketball with a 6 foot, seemed like a 6 foot junior higher at the time. We didn't have the social media like you do now. So when things were going on and whatnot, it was through the newspapers, it was through the actual news talking about different things that were going on. Who remembers the white Jeep running through LA? I do. Fun times. What about the Bank of America B of A robbery? Men dressed up in armor-plated vests, body armor on their legs, on their chest, around their waist, in helmets, and had a firefight for a day, it seemed like, outside on the streets with the assault weapons, causing a more of a ban on those in California. But anyway, grew up with those kids. I told you I run off on tangents. The Gonzalez, they were not brothers. They both had Gonzalez last names. Became part of my closest friends. People ask me, I come to a whole different area, just because the timing changed. Even the U.S., the times of things are just different worlds, even in different areas, like around the world. It's just the way the concept and the thoughts and what they're exposed to, how things have changed. And where I was raised and spent most of my days, so it was they became good friends, who I know a few of them went and fought for our country out of high school and joined the Marine Corps. One joined the Army, and I know the other one went into the Air Force. My whole family has fought for this country. And what pisses me off these days, and last night is just emotional just thinking about it, is I wasn't the best kid. I have shoved, as a freshman in high school, taken seniors and shoved them into the football lockers in the football room and put a pin through the lock so they couldn't get out. I was not the best kid in the world. I also was expelled. In junior high, I got suspended a few times. I was on detention list. Needless to say, I was not in the honor roll class or on the wall. But it was a hard area. Not every kid was like that. I made my choices. I was not forced in those choices. I made those choices to fit in with a group of people who, and this, I may be banned from saying this, and I'm just telling you how it is on the street. I don't care what political correctness means, because I'm not political. All right, I just know right from wrong. And even if you don't have a creator that you worship or have a relationship with, there is something instilled in you that knows right from wrong and where a line is. And I didn't get forced into any of the choices. I made those choices, and these, my friends, the Gonzalez brothers, had another beef with another group of Mexican kids, Hispanics, that were, some reason had it out for them. So they came up to me. We were over, in junior high. I think I was probably in the 7th grade, and said, "Hey, Adam, we need you to have our back while we're about to get jumped." And does anybody know what that means? So I started looking around like, who? Well, 10 Mexican kids start ganging up. Like, there's a force of 10 of them coming across our school grounds, which was asphalt. The carnage we saw as kids where I went to school was unreal. It was asphalt. They're coming across. All right, we had one teacher on guard out there. We called it a proctor. They handed out yellow slips or pink slips if you got out of line, and blew a whistle like a prison guard. And there were fences around our school. So anyway, we didn't have a resource officer in our school. They just called the cops when they started happening. So needless to say, my 2 Mexican friends, the Gonzaleses, came to me, and this is from his mouth, all right? Very proud Mexican, big Mexican, says, "We're about to get into a fight. We need you to help us." So here we are, Gonzalez, and Adam, back to back. So it looked like a little triangle, surrounded by Hispanics, other Hispanic little boys who had it out for my best friend. That was the first time that I realized how serious things can get quickly, and it became a mosh pit and a just all-out swinging and throwing and pushing and shoving and jumping and hitting time until the whistles start blowing, teachers coming flying across out to the yard and ripping people apart, and you scatter because you don't want to be caught up in it. So guess what? I wasn't caught up in it. And my buddies, they got out. One, the only reason, because they were still rolling around together on the ground. Our job was to keep everybody else off of him. And so me and this other buddy, Gonzalez, that's what we were doing. Later he came up to me and he said, he got obviously suspended from school for a few days for fighting. Came back to school, and his parents whooped his ass for fighting at school. Tough kid, but they still were not for condoning that kind of behavior. Great familia. That's what I was saying. Anyway, roll on to years. Here I am in high school, friends with Hispanics. That group grew. There was 2 loyal though, two Gonzaleses that were very loyal to each other, just hung out all the time and just come over, hang out with me. I had a group of white friends. I had friends. I rode dirt bikes, raced BMX, raced dirt bikes. Didn't really skateboard, but they called us the skater crowd, even though they didn't understand fully what we were doing as far as BMX and that kind of stuff, freestyle and all kinds of stuff, and then dirt bike. But they're like, they're skater kids. Anyway, I was friends with the potheads that smoked behind Spanish class. I was friends with the black group of kids that played basketball, that were my friends. We grew up with them, and treated us. We were just kids. We all got, we didn't say we all got along. There was times we didn't get along, and there's different groups, but we all didn't have an issue with each other, and we had a great time. One of my best friends is Japanese, raised by a Green Beret. He was adopted. So anyways, high school, I had a kid come up to me and decide that he was going to get in my face over no reason, because that's where we went to school. They just, for some reason, he thought he had a problem. So I was told as a child early on that I will be getting it severely when I get home if I start fights. My parents knew where I went to school. My sister was older than me. She was in high school, and she was getting into fights in high school. These are the same school district. My brother, later to find out, was very intimidating to other kids, my older brother. And when I got into high school, they found out my last name, and the seniors that were picking on me, and juniors as a freshman coming in as, lower classmen, they try and egg you, they try and block you from coming down the halls, and they got the biggest dude that'll stand out in front of everybody. My friends would go around and go out the door and go out to another hall and try and come in the back way. Guess where I went? Through the big guy. And when he tried shoving me or doing anything, I stood up to him, and he said, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "You don't scare me." And maybe that, because he didn't know who I was, but then he started going after ones that were afraid. So not always advisable, all right? I don't condone violence by any means. Go away from it, but there's going to be bullies in life. Sometimes you need to stand up if you see someone being bullied. It's not cool. We had a class of special needs. Back then, I had a good friend in special needs, and they would get picked on, and so we would come to their rescue. So some of the times that I did things was not because I was a bad kid, even though I was not doing great things, but still I knew that there was some that, and that sounds like oxymoron, I was picking on kids, but kids that were, had issues, I felt bad about. They shouldn't be picked on, so I went to their aid, and my buddies went to their aid to stop whoever was picking on them. But anyway, kid come up to me and got in my face, and I shoved him pretty hard, as a high schooler playing football, and I told him, "You get one free shot to hit me in the face, and once you do, just know that I have every right to defend myself." And I might have said it with a few more adjectives than that. You get the point. Anyway, he came up trying to push me. I pushed him back. So a crowd started developing. Who chants, "Fight, fight, fight, fight." And my buddies walk up, and they're around me on the back side of me saying, "Hit him, hit him, hit him, show him." And I am at this point trying to keep myself under control, because in the back of my head, back here, I hear the voice of my dad. And so needless to say, the bell rang. We had 2 bells. The first bell rang, lets you know, hey, break's over, it's time to get to class. Second bell is a tardy bell. I don't know how they do it anymore. They probably give you a safe zone and they tell you to, when you feel like it, you can come to class. I had the next class with this guy. So I go into class and I'm sitting at the back. Of course, I'm at the back of the class. David comes up to me. And I've changed the names to protect innocent people in this video. He says, do you want me to take care of him for you? And that wasn't like take care of him like the mob style take care. That was, dude, don't have to worry about it. I'll beat him for you. You shouldn't have to beat him. I said, no, I appreciate it. I got it. This kid kept looking back at me that wanted to try and fight me. And I've known him since the 4th grade too. I've never really had a problem with him other than he was an arrogant little kid, because his family was, he was brought up, they were that way. They owned half the town. So he thought he could run his mouth. Do whatever he wanted to people. And I had a problem with that. So, needless to say, he comes up to me about in tears. This is in high school, because I think he saw the look on my face and he realized I am not playing with you anymore. I'm done. And it's about at the point where he was going to go down a rabbit hole he didn't want to go down. So, he comes up to me at the end of class and is one desk away from me, leaning over these desks, and says, man, I didn't mean it. I don't want to fight you. I don't want to fight you. And so he kept begging me to tell him I would not fight him, because he really thought after school there was going to be the throwdown. WWE. Anyway, the SmackDown. I told him, look, get out of my face. Don't do that crap again. And I'll walk away from him. And needless to say, he did. That day, he earned a little more respect in my book, because he realized that he was going down a path he didn't want to go down. I really didn't want to fight him. Not that I was worried about fighting him. I don't, like I said, I only did things because I thought I had to, or to defend myself, or to do whatever. It's not like I went around looking for fights. My buddy, I have seen him in junior high shatter his hand hitting somebody. Came back to school with a split in his fingers in a, I don't know, some kind of contraption. And I asked him, I said, man, what happened? He's like, well, that's when I hit him. I went home, I was complaining, my hand started swelling up, and it shattered my fingers. So, needless to say, good friend, he went in to fight for this country, and I'm damn proud of him, man. These guys, if I seen them today, if I went back home, actually, about 15 years ago, I went back. I had lost my grandparents. I went back and had visited my old town, my brother, and visited my folks. Drove around. We went to a Chinese restaurant in town, and guess who's sitting there? The Gonzaleses. When I walk in, and they are in full Mexican garb. They had the poncho draped over them, woven, family woven thing, sitting at the table. And I looked over and looked at him, and like I said, it's been years since high school. And so he goes, punching bag? He's like, Adam. And I said, yeah, what's up, David? And sat there and talked to him for a minute. talked to him. He had just got out of the Air Force, and to know that he went in the Air Force and what he went through, and just showed me that, man, he knew too. His brother was in the Army. He knew. And also, we lived in a small town. There was nothing to do but get in trouble or go in the military. So, needless to say, some of my life and what made me today, and where I was going with that is these people today are so offended trying to tell others what they should do with their bodies, but they're the same people that, let's just remember back 2-3 years ago and before that, were screaming at everybody else, it's your body, it's your choice, don't tell me what to do with my own body. I'm pro-abortion, I'm pro-gender change, I'm pro-bi, lesbian, gay, which Heaven, my uncle, he passed years ago. He was gay before people were advertising you were gay. My Uncle Tony and my Uncle Jim. As a kid, I didn't know. I didn't know. I got it explained later when I was in junior high, where it finally came to that concept. I just thought they had antiques, which they were. They were antique dealers, and drove Jaguars, and lived in a nice house in California. And I thought they were both my uncles. My Uncle Tony was the only one that was my uncle. Anyway, I love them to death. Good guys. Rest their souls. So people will bash me saying, oh, you're a homophobe, you're all this. So no, I lean conservative, and I am conservative, because conservative to me means that I have my own compass, my morals, my standard that I dictate things on. And I might not agree with everybody around me and what they're doing, but I sure as crap ain't telling them how they should walk down the street, how they should live their lifestyle. Now, do I agree with all of them? No. But guess what? And when I do, customers, I can't come in there with a badge on saying that I'm this political party, and that if you're this party, that I can't do any business with you, because I work in a town that is a very liberal and very Democrat based, and we don't see eye to eye. I've had people that were crying and devastated when there was not elected a female president. And just didn't understand what our nation was doing. So, I like I said, I am not, and I'm trying to get over in traffic right now. This is not working. But anyway, I just don't get where our society in the last 2 years has become. The same thing we're crying, you homophobe bigot, you redneck, inbred, whatever, cracker, whatever you want to call everybody else, or anything else, is perfectly okay for you to do. And actually, for my buddies that were stealing stuff out of stores, now is just what they would consider expressing themselves, and it's what they deserve because they've been oppressed. And I'm sorry, where I was raised, I was around the cultural differences, been to their houses, hung out, grew up, worked in the cable industry, worked in mental health with them for years, all different races of people, and I have not seen an oppressed people. Okay, like I said, I grew up on government cheese, and I don't know if how many of you guys understood the time. Now you write a check, they scan it, it's coming out of your account. And you might know where I'm going if you're old enough to understand this. My parents were buying groceries by writing a check. Okay, when the food stamps run out, you could write a check in the 80s and even I believe in the 90s, I can't remember when it came into effect. I think it was sometime in the 90s, early 90s. You would write a check knowing good and well you didn't have the money in the bank. And I kept asking my parents, how are you writing a check when they used to write blue ink and red ink in their checkbook to balance it? When I looked, when they flipped past their ledger, it was red. But they had a duty to feed us, and they knew they didn't have the money. But the store wouldn't know for at least, I don't know, maybe 5 days that check would not clear. So my parents were betting down to feed the family that they would have money put back in the bank before that check cleared. And I'm probably going to be told, and none of my friends would tell me this. So for you guys that don't know me, why don't you go talk to my friends? Oh, you entitled white person has had everything, born with a spoon in his mouth, never had to work, beg, scratch, steal, borrow, had just had everything handed to him and never worries about anything, has never felt oppression, never hatred, bigotry, never been targeted. I've been pulled over. I won't get into that. Anyway, that's what I'm getting at. I can't get it. Like, don't scream, woe is me, because guess what? Well, although that makes sense, because what happens, and you might know this saying, you're learning a lot of facts today. I wish you could hear wisdom. Is get your head out of the sand. And if you don't know the old saying that says what? The greasy wheel, or no, sorry, I can't even do that right. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. I haven't said that in so long, but it's so true. If we cry loud enough and complain about things as being so unfair, I have watched a show on TV. These kids are born in 2000, all right? The year 2000 and later. And every one of them that gets up there talks about how hard and so much just oppression and things they've gone through, and just to be, that's the horrible family that they grew up with, and that they did. Okay, maybe you did grow up in a time, and maybe it was time before me too. My grandparents went through the Great Depression. I don't know what that's like. I'm not going to claim that I know what that's like. But what's amazing to me is that people today are like, I don't have the same opportunities as you. I don't know what to do. I need someone to come along and do something for me, and I deserve all this stuff. I don't find many people in today's time, or even when I was a kid, growing up when I did in the 80s, that were faced with that because their parents were, or their grandparents were, but not them. We had our own struggles. We dealt with our own things, but we made changes. And now it's almost like everybody's trying to revert back and say that they had a tough time because they don't feel special enough. They don't have enough self-confidence. They don't have enough self-worth, that they think that everybody else, they find their worth in everybody else. And if someone thinks, they feel bad, like they say white guilt. I worked with people that would tell me that, and I'm like, why should I feel guilty? My great-grandparents settled here the legal way. And it's hard to imagine that if you look up Ancestry, and you do your ancestry research, Ancestry.com, do your DNA samples, find out where your people came from, and the time, and the struggles they went through Ellis Island. I had folks that moved from West Virginia down to Arkansas, were raised in the bayous. Half of my family, my dad's side, Cajun, Polish, European, German. My wife's mother was born in Germany. Her mother went through the Holocaust, the things going on. So people looked at me in my job and said, you're a racist. You don't even know how it was. And all this. I'm like, why don't you go talk to my mother-in-law about her mom and the things she grew up and why her mother killed herself over the carnage that she saw. We're so fast and so quickly to judge and think that no one has their own story, or they somehow have had it so easy in their life. But it's life. It sucks sometimes. My best friend's kid died from cancer, who was the same. His kid and my kid were the same age. My oldest child, the same age, and I watched him fight brain cancer and pass on. And that dramatically changed their lives. But I watched the outpouring of people come around them. Did you all forget that 9/11 happened and how everybody came together and was so proud and talking about how we came together as a country? I was in the projects hooking up cable to low-income housing when that happened. And a lady was frying up gizzards and chicken livers, and yes, they were good. And we were sitting there watching the TV as I was programming it for her, and I watched the first plane hit the tower on live TV. We both looked at each other, and she said, Lord Jesus, probably banned for that too, Lord Jesus, help us, we're under attack, was her first words out of her mouth. I then two-way radioed my boss and was like, hey, you guys need to turn the radio and the news on because I think we're under attack. A plane just wrecked. It wasn't until the second one hit that I knew it was an attack. They couldn't figure out what it was. And I knew that a lot of my buddies were in the military during that time. During these times, we band together as Americans. And non-Americans. I'll tell you that everywhere they were like, this ain't going to happen in our country or our town. Before this, and I was talking about how I just pulled up the job. I wasn't going to do a video for this time, but maybe I need to be said. The time that we are living in now, 2 to 3 years ago, we were talking about everything else. Actually, right before all this happened, if you all remember, they occupied Wall Street. Black Lives Matter was going around. Antifa. The Ku Klux Klan. What else was out there? There was a few of them. But then what happened was they started saying, this is my area. This is my right to do whatever I want. And we were applauding them. We allowed illegal behaviors to be taking place and excused it for the simple fact that these people are expressing themselves. And they were burning businesses down and all over the place. And it didn't matter what race it was, because there's videos out there of black gentlemen screaming at these dudes saying that I worked hard for this. You should be ashamed of yourself. If anybody has a business, you know how hard you work for it. And those who don't have a business and are just grinding it, trying to provide for their families or yourself, you know how hard it is. It's not easy. But somehow the mentality is, this dude has a business. He has it easy. And one guy told me this: you're going to get paid according to the risk you're willing to take for that company and the responsibilities you have for that company. Everybody wants $25 an hour. Well, I was happy as a business owner making $25 an hour. And now if I get a job at McDonald's, I can dang near make that. And all I got to do is clock in, make sure the schedule's right, clock out, and go home and rest. And tomorrow that job's always there. The guy who's owning the business has to worry about his customers, overhead, insurance, licensing, liabilities, building, product delay, customer, bad customer. Like, no wonder he gets paid for that. And it's not that much when you talk about the hours that people put in for this stuff. And if he does make good money, good for him. He's got himself in a place financially where he can do that. But our country has come to the place where we've gone from all this turn, all right? This turn of events, and please stay with me on this. We can march in streets, burn buildings down, steal from trains. If you look at LA right now, they are stealing from the trains that come in and park so that the engine can do a switchover, or they can change out the engineers and start the train again. And they are just wiping these trains out because they think they deserve it, because we've gave that entitled attitude towards everybody, that you're entitled to something that you didn't earn, you didn't work for, and that's not yours. And for the people that are right now cringing and they're saying, well, yeah, that's so true, they are entitled. Okay, they're also the same people that say we shouldn't build a wall, we shouldn't have we should be nice and let everybody in our country. They're the same people, and I'm not talking about just the ones on Capitol Hill. They're the ones in the neighborhoods. They're the ones everywhere. They're screaming, Black Lives Matter, all these different things. And I'm not just talking about black people, okay? I'm talking about everybody who has this type of thought process, who's buried their head in the sand. They're the same ones who lock their door in their car when they get out of their car. They don't leave the keys in the ignition. They sure as hell don't leave the windows down and their purse in it. But why not? Because if somebody wants that, they should be able to get in it and drive off, because they're entitled to it. They're entitled to your purse. They're entitled to your wallet. And better yet, when you go to sleep at night or you walk in from your day of work and your kids are there and all that, don't lock your door, and make sure that you leave it open so people know that they can freely walk into your house. Right? No, I'm not going to do that. That's crazy. Why would I do that? That's the same thing you're saying about everything else. That these people are entitled to rob stores. That these people are entitled to rob trains. These people are entitled to burn buildings down because they're expressing themselves, because we owe them something. Now, if I've wronged you and I've shorted you somehow, then yeah, I owe you something. But I don't believe those people are alive anymore. You know, I have a hard time believing. I was raised, you work for your wages. And that was $5 at a time. I moved across the country to make $8 an hour. And yes, I was able to do it. And yes, I bought a used car. And people are like, oh, look at that car he's got. Yeah, he probably just got that. No, I worked my ass off for that car. I put everything into that car. So don't think that people, like, everybody makes assumptions about what people have and how they got it. And it's just like, I need that. They shouldn't have that. That shouldn't be theirs. Everybody should have that. Well, did you work hard for it? There's a little slogan goes for a guy that's a contractor too. Work for it. Are we losing that in America? Because there's not many nations out there where you can just do whatever the flip you want, get paid for it, get your house paid for. And our poor people, and this is what burns my butt. Oh, we're just oppressed and we're poor. And I grew up in that. Every one of us had a TV. Most of us had a car, or our parents had a car, and ate food. I've been to countries where they're poor. They don't have food. They don't have clean water. They don't have clothing. and we want to sit and say that we're owed more. Those people work their butts off to get a bag of potatoes or some fruit or bananas, onions, to provide for their family. They don't know they're poor either. Or I go over there and you hand a kid a water bottle to have some clean water, or hand my trail mix bars out that I was my lunch while I'm hiking the hills, so I didn't have anything. I would go without. That's what it is. It's making a sacrifice to help somebody else out. And I'm willing to make those sacrifices, and I do those sacrifices every day to help people out. And our country now, nobody wants to sacrifice anything. They all want what everybody else has when they're not willing to do what everyone did to get what they have. And I'm talking about work, not stealing it, okay? Because I used to be in that crowd. If I wanted something, I stole it. And I'm just glad that I didn't end up in jail as a kid. I'm glad I finally moved out of the area. I moved myself, by the way, at 18 years old, because I knew that the path I was going down was going to lead me to, 1, being dead, 2, being locked up. And half my friends, if I try and look them up, I can't find them. So I don't know where they're at. A couple of them, when I went back to town to see them, I went and I opened the door, knocked on the door. A buddy of mine opened the door. And let's just say that it wasn't a good environment. It's something off of a movie, of what I saw in that house and how they looked. It was horrifying. But hear my heart and know that the same people that are out here today that are saying that just give them what they want, let people cross the border, they call it illegal immigrants. Do y'all see a problem with that? What does illegal mean? Then we call them the dreamers. I've been to Mexico. People scavenging dump sites to get food for their family. I've built them a 10 by 10 area to have a home. They had outdoor kitchens. They had baños outside their house that the community shared. And that was one of the things that we built these places. And they lived in cardboard boxes with their family. Until you've gone through or you've been there, their families worked hard too. And they appreciated what they were being helped with and worked for. Because part of the process was they applied for the help. People would come in and help. Their families worked on their homes with us. They did the things they needed, almost like Habitat for Humanity. Shout out to them. I've done a lot of projects with them too. Great organization. They're there. It's there. There's ways of doing it the right way. If you're dedicated, you persevere, you can make these things happen. You can do it. Guys, I'm going to leave you that. I got to get in here and lay a floor. Remember, I'm handing money. That's why I got to go lay some floor. Hands and knees. My knees kill me. If y'all haven't known, whoever grew up dirt bike riding, BMXing, doing all kinds of things stupid as a kid, the carnage, would know what I feel every day. But anyway, I'm gonna get in here and lay this floor. But one thing I want to say was the same people, if you heard what I'm saying, the same people that are crying out today that these people deserve all the things they got, and then they're also they should burn down buildings because they're just expressing themselves and their lifestyle's unfair. Are the same people bashing people for not getting the vaccine? and saying we shouldn't be able to shop at the same places. We shouldn't be able to do the same things. I've lost family members. I've lost um, friends to COVID. But it's still your own choice to get the vaccine or not. And actually, the ones that passed, they were vaccinated. So I have had COVID twice. I've had the Omicron. I'm not saying it was worth it going through it, but things are going to happen in life. It sucks. But instead of attacking other human beings over maybe your disagreements or things you think they should be doing and they're not doing, because there's a lot of things, a lot of people. I'm not out screaming on the street corner because you're doing something I don't agree with. Look, that's the freedom. That's your own choice. That's your prerogative. If it's legal, do it. Nobody's going to stop you. The same people that were screaming, let them express themselves. As they raid Walmart, they raid Target, they raid all these stores, they burn buildings down, they occupy Wall Street. They're just showing how unfair things are the same people that are screaming at other ones now and wanting everybody to stick a needle in their arm and get something that just came out in less than a year that we made up in a lab. And they say, trust us, we know what you need. Two generations ago, that would have never happened. A generation ago, that would have never happened. My mother-in-law, her mother, which would be banned on Facebook right now because it was also told her, trust us, we're building a better nation. And we went and attacked and killed him for what he was doing to his people. So wake up, get your head out of the sand. All due respect, I love everyone out there. May not like you or agree with you, but I love you. I love humanity, even though it pisses me off so much. Hey, it's like people go, how does that even make sense? That's so backwards. You can't say that. Okay, you love your family, right? Do you always agree with them? No. Do you always get along with them? No. Do you always want to be around them? No. Are there certain ones that you can live without seeing for a while? Yeah. I think we all have that family. Do you love them though? Yes. I do. And I know you do. So here we are. This video started over an hour ago about handyman and taking the trash to the road. You don't know what you're going to get or the wisdom. I just wanted to share my life because I was up, like I said, last night just thinking about the different things, the stories. I've dang near died. I can't even count on one hand how many times. Between car accidents, near drowning, being stuck under a boat, um, dirt bike accidents, um, more car accident, electrocution, falling off ladders off a pole. So there's a reason why I'm here still, and I gotta believe that my Creator. You might not believe, and I don't care. I had friends that were Hindu, Jehovah's Witness, Mormon, Catholic, Muslim. We were still friends because we were civil to each other. When do people stop being civil to each other? My Creator has a purpose for me still. And if that's getting out here every day and going to lay a floor for a 70-something-year-old couple who's worked their butt off all their life for where they are, who's finally updating their house after 35 years to do a little bit to their house, that's what I'm going to do. And it's hard work, y'all. Blood, sweat, and tears get into everything that I do. I mean, literally every day, just about. So people walk around and it's impossible to find good work and anything else. Just the work's out there. But do you want to work? All right, love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.